Welcome back to another top 10. This one is top 10 Argentinian footballers of my time when I was growing up. Now, bearing in mind, all these top 10s will be from the period that I was watching football. So, some of the legendary greats, the likes of Maradona, or for the Brazilians like Pele, they will not be on this list because this is for when I was growing up. So, at number 10, we've got Angel Di Maria. Now, as a United fan, it didn't work out with him at the club. A lot of him labelled him a rat, and he had to get going. But this isn't about United. This is about Argentina, and he's one of the best players I've seen for them in World Cups, qualifiers, things like that. So, and when he was at Madrid, I thought he was a different level, a different quality. So, has to be on this list, and Angel Di Maria starts it off at number 10. Coming in at number 9, Mascherano. Now, this guy, I believe he's 5'8", something like that, but transitioned into a centre-back later on in his career. I believe he started off as like a centre defensive midfielder. And as I said, he played at centre-back for Barcelona. Also Liverpool, I think he did for a little bit. And he also played there for Argentina as his career developed. And for a player to do that, especially in the modern game, like centre-backs are usually a minimum of like 6 foot, if not more than that, for a minimum height. And he's definitely not that. So to be able to play in that position is such an important area on the pitch, going up against massive strikers and big, strong strikers that are going to be taller than that. You have to have the football IQ and intelligence to do that. And he definitely had that. And he also had that ruggedness and just like a pit bull in there. But he also had the technique along with it. So Mascherano has to be on this list. Definitely added like sturdiness to that Argentinian team, along with the flair players that they have as well, or did have. So Mascherano, number 9. Coming in at number 8, Carlos Tevez, a striker that was like a pit bull up front, like Mascherano was, or like maybe a Gattuso, even though he was Italian. That sort of pit bull behaviour, that was what Tevez was, but as an attacking option up front. When he was off the ball, he was relentless. The work rate, unformidable, just unquestionable, and you knew you was going to get 100%, if not more, from him every game. And I love that about Carlos. And on top of that, he had the technical ability. He was a great footballer, great close control. He was strong for someone so small. But just his energy, and he could even score headers and things for someone his size. So a great footballer. I loved his time at Manchester United. Obviously, it was bitter taste in the mouth when he left for City, but I liked him at West Ham before that as well, before he come to United. So big fan of Carlos, and he has to make this list, and he makes it at number 8. Coming in at number 7, Hernan Crespo, a fast, tenacious, powerful striker. He had great technique, very composed in front of goal, could score outside, but just a fox in the box especially. 2-footed. He was good in the air as well, aerial ability with headers. He was at Chelsea for a brief period of time in his career. Didn't quite work out at Chelsea, but I remember him from his days at Parma and Lazio. Just a phenomenal striker, and one that I would like to have seen for longer in England, but I don't necessarily know if his game would have adapted. As for the Chelsea thing, it didn't work out, but it might have at a different club in England. But a great player for his club teams. I mean, I even remember him at Inter Milan as well. He was great at Inter Milan as well. So he has to make this list, and he makes it in at number 7. Number 6, Ariel Ortega. Kind of a number 10. I only saw him at one tournament for Argentina, which was France '98. And just off that tournament alone, he had to make this list. I didn't see a lot of him outside of that tournament, if I'm honest. But what I've seen of him in that tournament, the low sense of gravity, the agility, just quick, super quick feet. He wasn't the biggest player in terms of muscular build or stature, but he was so quick and clever with his feet and reaction times and just idea of passing and moving. He has to be on this list, and for me, he's in at number 6, a rapid player, and one that I think was Argentina's danger man in France '98. So Ortega, number 6. Number 5, Javier Zanetti. One player that, in terms of stamina and work rate, is probably top 3 easily in the history of football. His nickname was actually El Tractor for his stamina and his up and down work rate, as I said, throughout games. He started as a wing back and then transformed into a midfielder later on in his career. Actually retired at age 40, which is no mean feat. Not a lot of professionals make it to their 40s in football and retire. So at that level as well that he was playing at, he was still playing in Champions Leagues. And I remember him at Inter Milan for all these years and performing at a high level of professional football and still being a great player for his team, despite being like one of the most senior. And some players lose their touch or whatever when they get older, in terms of just their ability. But he's one that stands out that carried it on and always played at a high level of performance. So he has to make this list. But yeah, El Tractor, Javier Zanetti, a great leader, a great captain as well, and one that I think his teammates would appreciate a lot. That someone that you play with as a professional, there's certain players that you're going to appreciate and never forget, and I think he would be one of them just for his leadership and his work rate and inspiring and leading by example. So Javier Zanetti, number 5. Number 4, Riquelme, another player that I miss watching a lot. He was a playmaker type of player. Didn't have a lot of pace about him, but was very clever with his technique and his quick thinking in terms of knowing where people are and having that vision. A bit of a controversial figure in terms of personality. Spent most of his career at Boca Juniors. He did get transferred to Barcelona at one point when Louis van Gaal was their manager. And it was quite notorious that he had fights with him and fell out with him. So he was only at Barcelona for around a year. I remember watching him for Villarreal in the Champions League where they reached the semi-final. And he had some great moments, pivotal moments, and was definitely one of the major influences for that team. That's where I first learned about him. I never watched him for Boca Juniors. I just saw him on Champions League nights. And he was an incredible player, despite his off-the-field stuff that people would say about him, and he was a bit of a testing character. A great player nonetheless, and someone on the field of play that is going to affect the game and influence it a lot. He won a lot of stuff. Just because you're not the greatest person off the field does not affect your ability on the field, in my opinion, and he was one of them characters. So Riquelme has to make this list, and he makes it in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, Veron. You might remember him from his time at Lazio, maybe Inter Milan. He was at Manchester United and Chelsea for brief spells, but didn't really work out for him in England. But known as a versatile midfielder, could play as a deeper lying playmaker in front of the back 4, or further forward as a more attacking playmaker further up the field. But could play multiple roles in midfield. Great technique, great with set pieces. Wasn't very pacey, but was a very intelligent footballer, so didn't need the pace. Very intelligent, as I said, seeing a pass, picking people out, and just a very intelligent footballer. So he has to make this list. Didn't work out in England, unfortunately, for him, which was a shame because he definitely had the ability. Just didn't adjust to it over here in England, but I think he done all right for Inter Milan, and did well in his time in Europe as well, so especially for Lazio. So Veron has to make this list, and he makes it in at number 3. Number 2, Gabriel Batistuta. One that sticks out in my head as a child, most memorably. Had that long hair, as we know, the flowing hair. But he was just a beast of a footballer. Strong on the ball, technique, power, good in the air. Thunderous shot on him, he could take free kicks. Just a massive threat, and as I said, he was a beast. I think he would have suited England if he ever come over here, and it's a shame that we didn't get to see him in England. Obviously played against English sides. Knocked out Arsenal in, I think it was the Champions League or the UEFA Cup one year at Wembley. Scored a famous goal at Wembley. And also I remember him scoring goals against Man United in the Champions League as well when I was a youngster, obviously being a United supporter. But yeah, I remember him most specifically in that Fiorentina, that purple kit, or the white and purple as well, both home and away kits. I remember him in that Champions League against United. I believe we knocked him out that year, but he was a threat and someone that could have easily have turned the tide for them. But just one of my favourite players to ever watch, and one that I miss watching a lot out of the majority of players that have retired. So Gabriel Batistuta has to make this list, and he makes it at 2. Number one, who else can it be but Lionel Messi? The guy is arguably the greatest player to ever play the game. He's definitely up there for me, top three easily, if not number one. Sheer ability on the ball, that low centre of gravity, the speed, the technique, the intelligence, the football IQ. He's got it all. Maybe he could score a few more headers, but the guy's very small and he scored a few headers. He scored a famous one against Manchester United in the final and dominated us in that game. The only thing that I would say is it's a criminal shame that he never won a World Cup. You could argue he's not had the players around him in the national side to help him win a World Cup. But someone of his ability to say that they never won the World Cup, that's the only downside to his career I see people saying when he does retire. Would have loved to have seen him in the Premiership. I don't know if he would have been able to deal with the physicality of it. Ability-wise, skill-wise, he definitely would. But I think he would have just got kicked lumps out of... because that's what teams would do. That would be the only way that they could stop him. Playing football, they would not be able to stop him that way. So, look, Lionel Messi, a phenomenal player, and I could speak about him for ages because the guy's phenomenal, what he does. Unquestionable talent. One of the first games I remember seeing him was away at Stamford Bridge in his early days when he used to have his longer hair. He was warming up as a sub in that game and come on. I don't know if he scored or set up one, but that was early on and that was one of the first times that I remember watching him. Obviously, very famous for that Barcelona team with under Guardiola, with the likes of Xavi, Piqué, Puyol, Iniesta, Dani Alves, the list goes on. So, look, Lionel Messi, it couldn't be anyone else but him. One of the greatest players ever, not just Argentinian, but in the world of history of football. And he is number one for this. I hope you enjoyed this top 10, guys. I'll be back soon with another one. I'll see you guys then.